Okay, hello guys, welcome back. We're doing another video on comprehension. Um, I am aware that we're getting to a point where I am going to sound like I'm repeating myself quite a bit. And I'm tentative not to do that. I don't want to labour any points unnecessarily, exceedingly so. I don't want to become hyperbolic. But things do bear repeating nonetheless. Um, So, just a couple of things I want to reiterate before we, more rapidly just get into reading this one, testing these skills that we've spoken about, putting things into practice. Just a couple of things just to reiterate. Never assume anything in a comprehension, That first read through is vital. The amount of attention you heed the comprehension. It is crucial to your success, to being able to decipher the text successfully. Before you have that working understanding, even when you think you do, it's important not to assume anything, right? You should never feel like you're making guesses on what seems to be because you see words pop up in answers to questions and you go, oh, I remember that from the text, so therefore let's circle that. No. This is, it's an illusion. It's that old thing in the films when someone's been walking through a desert for a very long time and they see a mirage. They think they see a water reservoir. But really it's just an illusion. It's not what you think it is. It's not the answer you believe it to be. So don't assume anything. Don't rush to make a guess just because it makes sense somewhere in your mind. Use more time. Use more logic. Reread the comprehension. Understand what it's telling you. Know where to look. What else have I written here? Yes, the other thing to say is when you are doing a comprehension, any logic or reasoning that is, seems obvious to you from outside, from external to the comprehension, from the real world, abandon it. We are not testing you on your real life common sense or your practical know-how or your, general knowledge. We are testing you on how well you've read the comprehension. Even if the comprehension gives you information that you know for a fact is wrong. Bananas are red. What else? Snow is warm. These triangles have four sides. Even if you know that the things that comprehension are saying are not what we might say are tautological, are things that are just true. Simply put, are just true. It doesn't matter, is what I'm trying to say, what you know to be true. What matters is what the comprehension knows to be true. If the comprehension says a triangle has four sides, then the question is, based on the passage, how many sides does a triangle have? Don't say 3. You won't get the mark, it's 4. It's based on the comprehension. You are being questioned on how well you comprehend, understand that piece of writing, not how much you know anyway. Okay. Let's have a look at this one. This is the Life Change Tuition English workbook as always, and we are looking at comprehension number 16. This is called Peter's Coal Mine. Let's read it together. Let's highlight some words, define some words as we go. There aren't as many in this one as have been in the past. And then let's look at the questions together. Talk about a couple more methods there, or styles of thinking, mindsets to adopt when looking at questions that are more likely to yield more thoughtful responses, higher marks in the process. So, what fun, said Mother, in the dark, feeling for the matches on the table. How frightened the poor mice were. I don't believe they were rats at all. She struck a match and relighted the candle. Everyone looked at each other by its winky, blinky light. Right off the bat here, start to add up the numbers. Try to understand the comprehension. Don't just glaze over and read it. Everything needs to be stored up there. So, said Mother, in the dark, feeling for matches. So, just look, they're in the dark. Matches are their only source of light. Is this in an older time period, perhaps as well, without electricity? Use this information, start to build an image, right? Well, she said, You've often wanted something to happen, and now it has. This is quite an adventure, isn't it? I told Mrs. Viney to get us some bread and butter and meat and things, and to have supper ready. I suppose she's laid it in the dining room, so let's go and see. The dining room opened out of the kitchen. It looked much darker than the kitchen when they went in with the one candle, because the kitchen was whitewashed. Well, listen. Use your context, surrounding information, surrounding words. It looked much darker than the kitchen when they went, so it's darker. The dining room is darker than the kitchen because the kitchen... Where's my highlighter? Yeah, here we go. Because the kitchen is whitewashed. Very simply, it's painted white all over, yeah? Painted white all over. So it just looks brighter. No dark colours. But the dining room was dark wood, there you go, from floor to ceiling, and across the ceiling there were heavy black beams, all of it very dark in comparison to a completely whitewashed kitchen. There was a muddled maze of dusty furniture, the breakfast room furniture from the old home where they had lived all their lives. It seemed a very long time ago, and a long way off. There was a table, certainly, and there were the chairs, but there was no supper. Let's look in the other rooms, said Mother, and they looked. And in each room was the same kind of blundering. Now, something's blundering. If something blunders, it makes a mistake. It makes an error. Yeah? Blundering. Blundering is making mistakes. The same kind of mistaken, clumsy, half arrangement of furniture, and fire irons and crockery. Crockery is another word for plates and bowls. So, the china, as we might say. Plates and bowls. And all sorts of odd things on the floor. But there was nothing to eat. Even in the pantry there was only a rusty cake tin and a broken plate with whitening mixed in it. What a horrid old woman, said Mother. She's just walked off with the money and not got us anything to eat at all. Then shan't we have any supper at all? Asked Phyllis, dismayed. To be dismayed is to be sort of shocked and horrified, but in a particularly sad, disappointed way. Yeah? Stepping back on a soap dish that cracked responsively. Oh yes, said Mother, only it'll mean unpacking one of those big cases that we put in the cellar. Phil, do mind where you're walking to, there's a dear. Peter, hold the light. The cellar door opened out of the kitchen. There are 5 wooden steps leading down. It wasn't a proper cellar at all, the children thought, because its ceiling went up as high as the kitchen. A bacon rack hung under its ceiling. There was wood in it, and coal. Also the big cases. Peter held the candle, all on one side, while Mother tried to open the great packing case. It was very securely nailed down. To be secure is, safe, firm, in this case. Where's the hammer? Asked Peter. That's just it, said Mother. I'm afraid it's inside the box. There's a coal shovel and there's the kitchen poker. With these she tried to get the case open. Let me do it, said Peter, thinking he could do it better himself. Everyone thinks this when he sees another person stirring a fire or opening a box or untying a knot in a bit of string. You'll hurt your hands, Mammy, said Roberta. Let me. I wish Father was here, said Phyllis. He'd get it open in 2 shakes. What are you kicking me for, Bobby? I wasn't, said Roberta. Just then the first of the long nails in the packing case began to come out with a scrunch. Then a laugh. I actually had to look this up. I didn't know what a laugh was. Noun. Laugh. A laugh is a narrow strip of wood. Basically, just a narrow strip of wood. They're lifting up panels of wood, yeah? Was raised and then another, till all 4 stood up with the long nails in them shining fiercely like iron teeth in the candlelight. Hooray, said Mother. Here are some candles, the very first thing. You guys go and light them. You'll find some saucers and things. Just drop a little candle grease in the saucer and stick the candle upright in it. How many shall we light? As many as ever you like, said Mother gaily. The great thing is to be cheerful. Nobody can be cheerful in the dark except owls and dormice. So the girls lighted candles. The head of the first match flew off and stuck to Phyllis's finger, but, as Roberta said, it was only a little burn, and she might have had to be a Roman martyr and be burned whole if she had happened to live in the days when those things were fashionable. A martyr, this is one I didn't think to talk about, a martyr is someone who dies for something they believe in. A martyr. Get a lot of that in sort of ancient religious teaching. This refers to Roman times when Christian people who had very strong faith, they were shunned. Catholics were shunned, and they were burned alive, which is fun. Then, when the dining room was lighted by 14 candles, Roberta fetched coal and wood and lighted a fire. "It's very cold for May," she said, feeling what a grown-up thing it was to say. The firelight and the candlelight made the dining room look very different, for now you could see that the dark walls were of wood, carved here and there into little wreaths and loops. The girls hastily tidied the room, which meant putting the chairs against the wall and piling all the odds and ends into a corner and partly hiding them with the big leather armchair that Father used to sit in after dinner. Right, good. Take that in, let it digest, right? I hope you were paying attention to that. I hope you were building your comprehension geography, building your map of the comprehension. This happens then, and then this happens then, and I remember there being something about this there. Mice show up at some point. A lath gets lifted out, may have a few of them. Questions. Why did the dining room appear dark in the kitchen? Well, we've already spoken about this one. Now, the dining room had a high ceiling with black beams. Well, yes, it did. They only had one candle. Well, can't quite remember the number of candles. The kitchen wasn't whitewashed. Well, The kitchen was whitewashed. The kitchen was whitewashed. It was painted dark wood from floor to ceiling. Now, what actually is the question asking here? Why did the dining room appear darker than the kitchen? So it's a question about the dining room's appearance, not the kitchen's appearance. So while C is correct, pardon me, C is wrong. Even if we were talking about the way the kitchen looked, if there was an answer saying the kitchen was whitewashed, which is correct, it wouldn't be the correct answer for this, because we're talking about the way the dining room looks, not the kitchen. Your word order of this question is vital. Right, you must understand it. Now, the dining room is about its darkness. The first option, the dining room had a high ceiling with black beams, yes, is true. But listen, you need to be able to distinguish between familiar and also similar information, right? You've got a couple of these that maybe could be true. This one is almost true, but this was not in the middle changes that. We need to be vigilant. We need to notice that. A and B are similar information. They both refer to the appearance of the dining room, which is something that we're after, but only one of them specifically details a darkness. D mentions the colour of the wood. It has to be D. Learn how to handle that similar information to distinguish between what the actual, factual answer is. Your second question. What did they find in the pantry when they looked for something to eat? Well, remember, they looked through a couple of rooms and didn't find anything to eat. What did they find in the end? Let's scroll back up. There was nothing to eat. Even in the pantry there was only a rusty cake tin and a broken plate. The answer has to be D for question 2. Why did Mother call Mrs. Viney a horrible woman? Well, what did Mrs. Viney do? Let's scroll back up again. What a horrible woman, said Mother. She's just walked off with the money and not got us anything to eat at all. Scroll back down. Easy kind of comprehension question. Retrieve the information, match it to an answer. She took the money and got them nothing to eat. 3 has to be B. Question 4. According to the children, why did the cellar not pass as a proper cellar? Well, again, scroll back up, find the information, retrieve it, match it to an answer. So, it wasn't a proper cellar at all, the children thought, because its ceiling went up as high as the kitchen's. Come back down. Its ceiling went up as high as the kitchen's. 4 has to be B as well. Simple as. Why did the mother ask Phil to watch where she was walking? Now, Phil, traditionally you might think Philip, male name. Use the surrounding logic of the passage, right? Don't take anything for granted. Properly figure it out. Don't just go, oh, that must be that. No, guessing should not be allowed. Guess only if you're running out of time, or you have absolutely no idea. We've got time here. We've got time. So where does she say to someone? Right, so here we go. Phil, do mind where you're walking to. There's a deer. At no other point is there a Phil mentioned, but there is a Phyllis. There is a Phyllis, right? We come back down to the question, especially you get. Why did Mother ask Phil to watch where she was walking? Where Phil, she, Phil. It can't be Philip then, can it? It must be Phyllis. It must be short for Phyllis. That sounds right. So we know it's Phyllis. What does Phyllis do? Then shan't we have any supper at all? Asked Phyllis, dismayed, slipping back on a soap dish that cracked responsively. Without seeing it, she walks back onto something and breaks it. That's why she says, be careful. We know that Phil is Phyllis now, and we know that Phyllis steps back and smashes something. So it has to be here, A, for question 5. Question 6, why does Peter ask for a hammer? Well, where does he ask for the hammer? Where's the hammer? Asked Pete. So look, they've got the great packing case. It's securely nailed down. They're trying to get the case open. That's what he wants the hammer for. Number 6. He thought it would be useful in opening the case. Has to be D there. Has to be D. Again, notice how they try and trick you out here. See, he wanted to securely nail the packing case. If you're skimming through this, if you're trying to go quickly and you're not paying proper attention, you'll see nail, you'll see packing case, you'll think, oh, that's about moving the nails from the case to open it. I'll put C. You'd be wrong. You would have missed the actual meaning of option C. You want D here, option D. There's a difference between working fast, working briskly, and rushing, working with haste. There's a difference. One takes care, and one is done in a manner of, oh, I know I can afford to do this because I know what I'm doing. The other one is done because you're rushing and you're panicking, or you just want to get through it quickly. I know which option is the more sensible one, personally. Why does the mother ask the girls to drop a little candle grease in the saucer? Well, let's have a look. So, they find the candles in the suitcase here at the bottom of the page. Here are some candles, wherever you're seeing. You guys go and light them. You'll find some saucers and things. So drop a little candle grease, here we go, in the saucer and stick the candle upright in it. Stick the candle in the grease. The grease is needed for the candles to be stuck in, so it has to be C. How does Phyllis get a little burn? Well, come back with me here. The first match flew off and stuck to Phyllis's finger. But Roberta said it was only a little burn. There you go. A bit of the match hits a finger. Why was I able to scroll up that quickly and know exactly where to look? Because my geography of the passage is good. I've got it in there like a map because I paid attention the first time I read it. Has to be D for question 8. Question 9. How many candles did the girl light in the living room? I know exactly where to look again. Excuse me. So, we spoke about a martyr, come down to this very short paragraph. Then, when the candy room was lighted by 14 candles, couldn't be easier. Could not be easier. 14 candles, option D. How do the girls tidy up the room? Now. We need to read precisely. We need to be attentive. The answers here, once again, are all similar. They borrow words from the text as well. You might look at them and go, oh, I remember them moving chairs. I remember something going into a corner, so it has to be A. They've taken those words and they put them in there to trick you out. They're trying to deceive you. You need to be smarter than the question. You need to be able to look at that and decipher them. Say exactly what they're wrong. Notice where they're wrong. To be able to figure out exactly what the right answer is. Well, let's have a look. The girls hastily tidy the room, which meant putting the chairs against the wall. Right, first thing you should notice, against the wall is not the same as in the corner. So cross off. Process of elimination. Cross off option A. Option B. They piled odds and ends onto the big leather armchair. Odds and ends onto the big leather armchair. Piling all the odds and ends into a corner. Not the same as on the leather armchair. Cross off B. Can't be that. They put chairs in the corner. Again, we know the chairs don't go in the corner. The chairs go against the wall. Can't be C. The only one left you've got is D. Let's double check it. Odds and ends into a corner, partly hiding them with the big leather armchair. They hid odds and ends behind the big leather armchair. That sounds good enough for me. You see how those options are similar there. But only one of them can be correct. It's your job to make sure you choose the right one. Don't panic. Don't get distracted. Don't rush. Don't be misled. Pay attention. Right. Answer the following questions about the meaning of words as they are used in the passage. Which word in the passage is a synonym for disorganized? Well, if something's organized, we know what that is. If it's disorganized, it's the opposite. Well, crockery, we know, is about bowls and plates. Dismayed is to be shocked, so definitely not disorganized. Blundering, you're clumsy, but doesn't mean you're not organized necessarily. You might think there's a similarity there, but they're not the same. If something's muddled, we know this word, don't we? If we get in the muddle, we get confused. If my desk here was muddled, I wouldn't know where anything is. It would not be tidy, it would be disorganized. It has to be A for 11. These kind of questions, the best way to do it is use the context of the words surrounding where they show up in the comprehension, or indeed just building your own vocabulary bank, which is always going to be a useful tool. What does the phrase odds and ends mean? Well, if they were weird, I think we'd spend more time focusing them instead of just pushing them behind a chair, wouldn't you? Ordinary but necessary. Necessary, they wouldn't just throw them away. You'd want to keep them to hand. Important, similarly. B, makes the most logical sense. Listen to the phrase as well, odds and ends. Odds and ends. Sort of tat, you know? Bits and pieces. Has to be B. Excuse me, I'm getting an itchy throat. Weird feeling. Answer the following about words and phrases as they are used in the passage. What type of words are the following? Muddled, blundering, and upright. Well, if my desk is muddled, if that person is blundering, if that statue is upright, I'm describing the state of them, aren't they? And when I'm describing the state of a noun, there's only one option. It has to be an adjective D. Which of the following is an adverb? Well, a lath is a noun, remember that bit of wood. If someone's dismayed, it's an adjective. I am dismayed. It's describing me, the noun, right? The subject in that sentence. If I'm unpacking, I'm doing something, it's a verb. The only option left is hastily. I can unpack hastily. I can unpack with haste. It's describing how I do the verb of packing, or unpacking, pardon me. So, A has to be the adverb. Right, that's another one done. Thank you very much.